everybody, welcome back to the next Aldnoah's never seen, Neko's never seen, we've never seen. I haven't quite decided what
The
yeah,
title of this thing would be because we still
well
haven't decided
the
after all these
but
months apart later.
yeah, how I'm defining the playlist. I know our individual episodes will be our its own created playlist, but for the series as a whole, I'm not sure how we're
I would just
labeling
say
this.
we've never seen.
Probably. We'll figure that out later, but we're back with another one. This time, Aldnoah is back in the haven't seen seat. How this works again, there's a list that me and Aldnoah write up. When it's our turn in the hot seat, we give that person the list just to confirm that they've never seen the shows or movies or anime or
Whatever the hell.
cartoons or whatever the heck. And then we just pick from the list and go from there. There's no real thematic to this.
It's pretty randomized at this point.
Yeah, as to what we'll review. I mean, I know you guys are going to see the title of this video and know exactly what it is right away.
But
Noah doesn't yet.
I have a
'Cause
feeling
I've-
of what
Oh,
I have a feeling I know what it is though. That's the sad part
why?
because you've been talking about the show kind of infrequently for a while.
I don't know. I don't think I have been. I did not tell him. I almost by accident almost spoiled it for him like 3 times in these past couple of days, but I have not done so. And I don't know if he is thinking of the show that I'm thinking of or what, but it's now that awkward time where I read the description from
Alright.
the website we'll be watching on or the website where you can view it on. And just to be clear, when I read these descriptions out, I purposely leave out like if it references the name of the show or it
Any of the
references the
major
name
characters.
or references the name of the characters. I do change it not to say their exact name because then it gives it away.
Yeah.
But okay, so here we go. On his first day of high school, this cynical, sarcastic teenager is filled with hopes of a normal high school experiences. Hopes that are immediately dashed after meeting a beautiful and eccentric high school girl. This girl is athletic, brilliant, and completely bored with life. At his accidental suggestion, she decides to create her own club dedicated to finding and observing life's oddities like aliens, espers, and time travelers she believes walk among normal people.
Oh, is it the Melancholy of Suzumiya, where the fucking her name is?
Yep, the Melancholy of
Yes!
Haruhi Suzumiya.
Let's go! I've been wanting to watch this for years, but I never got around to doing it.
Yeah, I knew as soon as I said aliens, espers, and time travelers, you were going to guess it right away. And anyone playing along at home
Oh my god,
was going to guess it right
yes.
away. That's why, like, cause in the description it says, like, the eccentric Haruhi Suzumiya. I'm like, no, I'm not saying her name. That gives it away too easily.
Yeah, exactly.
But I couldn't just be like, no, I couldn't just say, I
Yeah.
couldn't leave the other stuff out.
Okay, so it was either you were gonna pick that or you were gonna pick Danny Phantom, because I know you've been talking to me about that show for a very long time and I've never seen it.
Yes, I have been talking about Danny Phantom, so that's what you thought this was?
Initially at first, but then I'm like, then you read the description, I'm like, no, she couldn't be showing me this now. This cult classic from like the early 2010s.
Hey, when it came out, it was not a cult classic. It was like all over the place everywhere. People were doing the dances in the show and tons of AMVs. This is not just a random cult classic anime. This is like, okay, well, maybe nowadays because people don't know it as well, but when it first came out, it was like the anime.
No, I remember, because it used to be the absolute one thing that people used to reference all the damn time. And I just remember all of the hijinks that people used to like say about it at times, because I've never actually seen the show, but it's so integrated into the anime like culture from back in that time.
Because I saw this one when it came. No, I didn't see it when it came out because that was like 2006.
Was it 2006?
Yeah, I started getting into
I could have
anime.
sworn it was like early 2010s.
Nope, it was 2006.
Wow, that's
So it's
bonkers.
pretty old.
Almost 20 years old. God damn.
Yes, and it was also made by, I don't remember if the first season was done by them or if it was, no, it definitely was. Kyoto Animation.
Okay, yeah. I can't believe it's almost 20 years old.
Yep, it's an oldie, but it's still a goodie. The last time I saw this was, I think, a couple years ago because I watched it in Japanese first and then I watched it in English because of the voice talent that they have on it, and I'm excited to have you see that voice talent as well. We'll get to that when we get to it, but you ready to jump in?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. We'll jump in and then we'll be right back.
We've come here to challenge you and your brigade thing.
Huh?
A duel! Really? A duel! We want a duel against you guys!
I beg you,
A duel,
please
a
stop
duel!
repeating the word
And with this
duel
duel,
over
we're
and
gonna put a
over.
stop to the
If
SOS
Haruhi's ultra-sharp
Brigade's
ears could
reign of
hear you, you'd be as good
terror!
as...
All right, we are back. But two things I'd like to mention first before we begin this review. As you already saw by the in-between, we added the movie in too, because Aldnoah didn't feel like ending it at the technical ending of the anime was right. And then second, spoiler, 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 spoiler.
Massive spoilers.
Massive
please.
spoilers. Walk away now if you don't want to know what happens in this series. Watch it and come back.
Quite literally, because we're about to spoil the shit out of all of this.
Are we good?
Yep.
Did they go?
Yeah, I would hope so.
Would you like to start?
Okay, so going into this, I was already somewhat aware of the crazy shenanigans that Haruhi would inevitably create just by her existing. Little did I realize that she was the sole reason why that entire universe was completely like the way that it was.
So you did kind of know before watching the series that she was...
I just didn't know how exactly. That was really the big thing.
Yeah, you basically didn't know that well, I mean, they say that she is a god, but she's not a god. Can manipulate things.
Can kind of make things like work to her well, pretty
Yeah,
much.
I know people just generally use the term god, basically, just to make it a lot easier on themselves. And I'm not just talking about the show, I'm talking about the anime community. Just throws that out there because it's just a whole lot easier just to say that, because that amplifies how much control she does have over everything.
Even
But
if she's not like aware of it at all.
that's the point of the show, is that she's not aware of it. They basically have to do everything they can to keep this woman happy, or else
Because God forbid, the whole universe will implode in on itself.
well, no, it just goes to however she wants to. So basically, she wants it, she gets it in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
I have to ask you this, because this is something I wrestle with a whole lot in my mind.
Alright.
Do you like Haruhi as a character or not?
I actually do. At first, I thought she was very annoying, but over time, I think she kind of grew on me. And it wasn't just her, the whole rest of the cast as well.
What makes you like her?
Honestly, it's just her personality. It just fits, it just works. And honestly, Haruhi is Haruhi. There's no other way to go around that.
I've wrestled with my feelings for Haruhi for years. I watched this probably in like 2010, both the anime and the movie, so this is not my second time watching through this. It's probably my fourth time watching through this. And each time I have to ask myself, why do I enjoy watching this girl? I keep asking myself that question. I'm like, based on the things that she does, how spoiled her attitude is, like, why do I keep liking her and watching her? And I still don't have an exact answer to that to this day.
Does it really matter if you have an answer? To have sit through it as many times as you have, you would have had to actually like the show at least somewhat.
Oh yeah, no, I do like the anime. Let me make that clear. Every time I've watched it, I mean, maybe the first time I watched it because it was like the popular thing and I wanted to be in on
the popular thing.
Well, I was just starting to get into anime at the time.
Right.
In 2009 is when I started watching anime, but 2010 is when I tried to branch out into things by myself.
I didn't really get into anime until 2012, 2013 roughly. Pretty much when all like the big early 2010 stuff like SAO, Attack on Titan was starting to make their rounds. So
oh gosh,
for me,
yeah, no, that was a couple of years after I started.
So for me, going back and rewatching what a lot of people would consider probably one of the better shows for that time point, it was definitely a treat.
I do think, I mean, at the time, people probably consider this anime a classic, and I would think it still has that classic status. I think I found more that I like about it now than I did the other times that I watched, but I have a way different perspective than I did when I watched it the first time 13 years ago.
Yeah, as you probably should at that point.
I still wrestle with why do I like Haruhi as a character. I don't like everything she does. Don't get me wrong. Do not like everything she does.
As far as most people could tell, she is probably the most spoiled of all spoiled characters as you could realistically get. She can be a bitch at times, but you know,
like
that's
I
just
think
Haruhi.
I think part of it is her enthusiasm for everything. Just kind of is infectious in a weird way.
Yeah,
I kind of do like her go get 'em attitude, because that was a point for one of the episodes when they were working on the movie.
yeah, she was really like trying to
because
make
everyone
that work.
everyone else was like, for the festival, like, oh man, can't we do something fun? Well, what do you want to do about it? Nah, that's too much work. Let somebody else do it.
Stop your bitching!
and then you let Haruhi do it. And
No,
then it's just...
no, Haruhi was like, yeah, I'm gonna do something fun, but I'm gonna take control. Nobody else wants to do it, so I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, that was another thing. One of the, I forget his name, the friend of whatchamacallums, he was like, I'm not gonna do a dang thing because my whole class did something else, and it's just like, how boring is that? And then Haruhi gets the idea, is I was like, you know what? Why don't we make a movie just for shits and giggles? Can I tell you though, having to sit through that whole little sequence was just like every bad YouTube video you could possibly think of multiplied by crack, and that was pretty much the end result. And they made an entire episode of it too, which I really had a hard time sitting through as someone who used to edit.
I wouldn't say it. I would say it's more of a bad high school project than a bad YouTube video.
I guess, but as someone who edits quite often on his own channel, it was hard for me to sit through.
Well, that was the point of it. None of them knew how to edit videos or make a movie or anything like that. So of course it was going to be bad at the end of the day.
And you have to feel so bad for
And
those
also,
people who sat through it.
Yeah, I know. And nobody was going to know how to act in the darn thing either. So it's just like, of course that's the end, how the end result was going to be. So for me, like, it just was par for the course for the series.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have to give this man a very big award. And for those of you who have watched Haruhi Suzumiya, you know what the award is. This man sat through all 8 episodes of the Endless 8.
Fuck that.
And you know what? I'm going to tell him this, and this is going to make him mad. It was my first time sitting through all the Endless 8 too.
Oh. So
I knew it was coming the first time I watched it, so I kind of just watched the first episode, then the third episode, and then I just went to the last episode. And every time I watched it since then, I did that. I said, this time, I'm not going to do that. Because he should have the full experience.
You just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
And you know what? I need to have that full experience too, because it's not fair for all the other Haruhi fans that did have the full experience when they first watched it.
I feel like so many people are going to get mad at you for that.
I had to make sure he did not know that it was going to be 8 episodes long.
Yeah, you made me purposely close my eyes and everything whenever you were changing into the next episode too. That's how specific she was being with
Heck
it.
yeah, I did. I didn't want him to know when the insanity was going to go on, and his reactions were funny the whole time.
I was just like, is this ever going to end? Is this ever going to end? Oh my god, why is this going to a 5th day? A 6th day?
7th. And then he almost gave up on the 8th. And I was like, just watch one more episode. And he looked at me so skeptical. And
I was just so distraught by the end of it, because I'm like, how do you waste so many episodes on that one thing? But the climax was worth it, in my opinion. Like, say what you will about the fact that they essentially wasted several episodes on practically the same story plot, just within a different like context each time.
Listen, I will give Kyoto Animation a lot. We'll talk about the animation studio in a bit. But I do give them a lot because they changed the camera angles. They changed the animation up. They put them in different clothing. So it's not like they just copy and pasted.
Yeah, no, they didn't copy and paste. Like, that would have been boring.
Yeah, and neither did the voice acting for both versions. Just for context, we did watch this in the dub. I'm sorry, all dub haters, but I do like my dubs.
And I honestly wouldn't have wanted it any other way.
You did like watching the dub?
Yeah, it was really enjoyable, though.
Well, I mean, you got some of the best talent at the time, too, doing this dub. Crispin Freeman.
Johnny Ambosh.
Yeah, Johnny Ambosh, Michelle Ruff, and even Tommy's voice actor made it in there.
Even if he was just a side character, he was there.
Well, I mean, when you put the two together, don't they kind of look like Tommy could grow into that as a high school version? No, well, I don't think he would have been that meek, but
yeah, that's
still.
What I mean. Like,
he still wasn't a pushover, though.
Exactly.
I don't remember the guy's name, and I feel bad about that. I just know it's Tommy's voice actress from Digimon Frontier.
And you just recognized it right away, and I'm like, huh, I feel like I've heard this before.
Oh, and also Stephanie Sheh as Mikuru, who does Hinata and Naruto, both Shippuden, all the Narutos.
Yeah, technically now as well, yeah.
Boruto as well.
Which I'm ashamed to admit, I've only watched up to Shippuden, so I didn't really pick up on it immediately at first, so...
Diogo might have something to say about that.
Oh no, I know Dio's gonna get very mad at me for that, but what are you gonna do?
Just have him write you out a list of episodes to watch without filler, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, where's that list, Dio?
But yes, you do earn your badge for the Endless 8. We need like a anime badge system somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll come up with one eventually, or future Neko will make one in the editing process for this. I don't know. I don't want to put up too much on future Neko's plate because making these is a lot. But any other things you'd like to say?
I think, honestly, though, before we go more into my own personal takes with it, I really did enjoy this beginning to end. Yeah, there were some moments I laughed at, some moments I cringed at, a lot of moments where I cringed at, but it was overall enjoyable, and I'm glad I actually sat through this. As the years go on, people are gonna kind of just forget that this was a thing, and I kind of don't want that. Now that I've experienced it, I think it's definitely within my top 10 favorite anime.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't think it'd go that high.
I personally really enjoyed it, and years down the line, I probably would sit through it again, but probably with the sub version, just to see what it was like.
Yeah, I probably would just want to watch the dub again because I've already watched it in sub.
Yeah, but I've never watched it in sub, so if I go back and rewatch it years later, that's how I'd do it.
To be honest, I'll probably be right there with you a few years later because I've proven that every couple of years I go back and watch this anime.
Really?
But I found more to like about it now than I did when I was in my beginning anime years. I'll admit, my beginning anime years, I did like the romance in anime because romance in American cartoons and American shows are okay.
Like
They're
borderline watching paint dry, essentially.
Yes. Nowadays they're fine, but back when I was a kid, when you just want to see that development in a relationship instead of the will they won't they that all American TV shows kind of had, anime was that thing for me. I think I started watching this from the perspective of a romance anime, but I don't think it really deserves that perspective. There is romance in there.
Technically, yeah, from not just within certain parts of the show, but also the movie, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah,
but either way, like,
because there was a lot of obvious times where Haruhi was jealous of Mikuru.
Yes.
And like she would intervene in ways that would make it seem like, yep, she's trying to stop Kiona and Mikuru from having a moment together.
Right.
I do think why Kiona is so important to Haruhi is because she cares about him more than just a friend. But Kiona probably does care a whole lot more about her. Again, we'll go into the movie in just a bit, but he would have accepted his new reality in the movie had he not cared about Haruhi at all.
Yeah. I know you wanted to talk briefly on the animation and all that stuff, so why don't we go over that real quick?
Well, Kyoto Animation is just amazing as always. This was one of their earlier projects. They're known for a whole lot more now, but this was before Violet Evergarden. This was before Free, before Tomoko Market, Beyond the Boundary. They
nailed it.
Yeah, out of the park. The animation is just so good still.
They really did a great job of actually making each episode stand out. Even if it wasn't a whole lot going on, like close space or any time traveling shit going on, they at least made every scene count. Even in the most random parts where you would think, like, why is this here? Well, there's a reason for it. It's just, you're not understanding it. There was this one scene towards the end of the anime where you had Nagato just sitting there reading her book, and it went on for like a minute.
They also had a radio playing in the background, which I don't know if it was improv from Johnny Young Bosch and Michelle Ruff, but I know definitely one of the voices was Johnny Young Bosch, but I'm not sure if they had a scripted thing to read or if they were just like, just improv something.
Yeah, pretty much. Just improv it.
But I don't exactly know 100% know what the point is. Like, I feel like there is a point to it, but it's not obvious what the point is to have like a solid minute or two of Nagato just sitting there reading. But also, when we first started watching this, he was like, this was from 2006. I'm like, yeah, and even Aldnoah was like, wow, the animation's so good.
Yeah, especially for 2006 standards. You have to remember, this was like right around when Code Geass was starting to make its rounds.
No, it was the same year as Code Geass.
Well, yeah, but I don't know if Code Geass came before or after Haruhi.
Well, it was the same year, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
This was also the same year as Ouran High School Host Club, which is funny, 2 anime seasons with the main character being named Haruhi.
Yep, that's true.
I'm surprised you didn't pick that up.
You know what? I forgot that very important detail, and you know what? Shame on me, because I remember we went back and watched that years ago, and that show was pretty good too. Like, 2006 had a lot of good stuff that year.
Also, Death Note. I can't think of everything.
No, Girl Long Gone was 2007, right?
I
think it was 2007, but right around that point, you had a lot of really good shows coming out.
But I will say, because sometimes people back in the day used to use Kion, like he was the typical anime protagonist that was just generic and boring. I ask you years later, have you not met Kirito from Sword Art Online? Kion has fucking personality, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't take crap. Well, he takes crap, but
But
at a
he
certain
doesn't
point, he doesn't take it. He's the one that can stand up to Haruhi and say, "No, you're being
You're being bratty. You're being a bitch."
yeah,
Like,
like, what's the point of this?" But he's the only one that can, because he's the only one that Haruhi will take seriously.
also, the other three can't really risk their position
Well,
at
that's what
all.
I mean. Like, that's why it's good that
There's
it
at least
balances her out to have a character that says, "No, you're kind of being a brat. No, you're kind of being a jerk." Like,
Yeah.
when she was a real jerk to Mikuru.
from having to change into all those other costumes.
Not just that, but the scene in the movie that even got to be too much of me, of her brattiness, when she put the sake in Mikuru's drink
Oh yeah.
and then just like was relentlessly like smacking her in the head. Keon almost punched her, just to let you know.
Oh yeah, I remember that. He almost really like
She still had the nerve to be a brat in that moment. I mean, this is why my feelings for Haruhi are so complicated. Not the anime itself, it's the character. Because I don't want to say she deserved to be punched.
but like she really took things too far in that scene
Oh
in
yeah, she
particular.
definitely took things too far, and she needed to be taken down a few pegs. Which I'm glad she was taken down a few pegs, because she should not have continued that bad behavior, and Keon was the only one
Who was willing to like
who was
say
willing to
no.
put her in her place.
Yeah.
But physical violence wasn't the way. Think of how fast Koizumi had to get up from Mikuru's side to run over and grab Keon's hand before he could.
I mean, he's an
Punch
escort.
her.
Like at that point, you'd think he'd be prepared for any kind of situation like
No,
that.
I know, but he was also very serious about it, which I think Koizumi in this universe too may have feelings for Haruhi, but his complication with his work and duty kind of probably muddle it up a bit.
Yeah, no kidding.
But still, the fact that he had to get up so quickly, be like, well, this is going to escalate.
Yeah, this is gonna get bad. This got out of hand real fast.
It did get out of hand. One thing that kind of gets to me about it is that neither of them ever say I'm sorry to each other.
Nope, you don't get that at all.
I mean, she does get nicer making the film later after her and Keon kind of have a talk. She doesn't abuse Mikuru as much.
Yeah, either way. Before we get to the movie, I will say I'm not satisfied with this final anime episode because I don't feel like that really was like a good wrap up for everything. Like not in a traditional sense. Now, for full context, because Neko told me this as we were watching this, but when they first aired the show, it was out of order, like completely out of order.
Yeah, the broadcast order is different from the canonical order. I don't know why they decided that, or I didn't until I decided to look at the light novels. Apparently, the light novels were kind of structured that way as well.
Huh.
So I don't know if for the broadcast order they decided to just copy the stories that were happening in the light novel.
They probably just copy pasted at that
No,
point.
I wouldn't say copy paste. That's too mean to say.
But it was such a weird way to end it off on, especially where there were random points throughout the series that felt more like an actual finale than what we actually ended up getting. Now, keep in mind, we were watching this on Crunchyroll, so they had it listed out canonically, like how things were supposed to play out.
And I do recommend people watching it canonically. Like, don't watch it out of order. Just watch it in order. It saves you your sanity of trying to figure out what's going on when.
So, with that being said, I was not satisfied with that final episode. Then she told me, well, we don't have to stop there because there's a movie that goes alongside this.
Yeah, I sat down and I debated if I should tell them about the movie or not, because
I think I would have been disappointed given how everything played out.
Yeah, the anime was 28 episodes long, and I was like, the movie, I forgot how long the movie was. It's a long movie.
You said it was like 2 hours and 40-something minutes.
Yeah, so I was sitting for a while as we started watching, and I'm like, do I tell them about the movie? Do I just record our thoughts as they are now?
I think I would have been more upset if I didn't watch the movie.
Yeah, I do admit that watching the movie together with the show does kind of give it a little more closure until, hell, if we even ever get any more Haruhi Suzumiya.
Probably not.
I will tell you this. I didn't tell him this because I didn't think it was necessary to, and not for the sake of this. There is a spin-off show called The Disappearance of Yuki Nagato, but it takes place in the universe that Keon was sent to in the movie.
Ah, so it's just like another...
So it doesn't really count as canon to the main story, so that's why I was just like, eh.
Yeah, nah, not really interested in watching that.
And I did watch it myself, and I was just kind of like, eh. I mean, if you're curious, check it out. If you want to hear the English voice actors again, check it out. But I would say just sticking with the regular anime and movie is all there is to it.
So now we can quickly go over my takes with the movie. I have to admit, it gave me closure that the final episode didn't give me. And I'm kind of just like, you didn't just say, hey, we're also going to include this movie in right from the start. Because if I was left without watching the movie and we had to record it before we sat down and watched the movie, I would have been like, we're redoing that whole shoot. I don't care what you tell me at that point.
Redoing the whole shoot.
Well, not the whole shoot, but just start recording.
Our afterthoughts. Okay.
Yeah. Because honestly, like, he had to come to terms with, do I actually like the world in which I was presented with initially? Or do I like this new changed reality, even if it's not as exciting? And more importantly, do I live in a world without Haruhi or not? Like, and that was the big question at the end of the day.
Well, he also had to come to terms with himself that he actually likes having Haruhi around as much as he bitches and complains about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes an impact for later in the story, because again, I have not read the light novels and we don't have a continuation on the anime so far. I'm hoping they do one at some point, because the light novels are pretty far out from where they were in 2010 when the movie was made.
So the light novels, they continue the story?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the original thing first. Like, you know how anime are sometimes based on manga?
Yeah.
This one's based on a light novel.
Okay, yeah.
It does have a manga, but the true story is in the light novel. Just like for Magical Girl Rising Project.
Another really good show that I kind of wish they would have at least given it a second season.
They're talking about giving it a second season.
Are they?
Yeah, but again, I don't want to get too off topic.
Yeah.
Also, the movie just makes you feel really bad about Nagato at the end of the day.
Yes.
Not only does she have to put up with Haruhi's crap, not only does she have to be the problem solver to every situation that comes up, and not only is she not programmed with emotions, she's an alien. Alien robot? Is that how?
I think that's how they worded it.
Alien robot. And she sat through living the same summer vacation over 15,000 times, equating to almost 600 years of her life.
Or just her existence, because let's be honest, robots don't have a life unless this one just magically does for some reason, for the sake of argument.
Also because she doesn't have emotions to feel, which is what Kion was guessing, is because she was programmed to not have emotions, and she may have had a desire to feel them. But I don't know if it was a desire to also live in a world where she could be closer to Kion than
so that way she can feel those emotions. Which is what I think really was the main reason for her initially changing the whole world the way that she did. Was because deep down she wanted to feel what they felt, at least somewhat. She wanted to finally understand what emotions actually were.
Mm-hmm.
So that's rough.
Mm-hmm.
That's really rough. To go thousands of years probably and not even like know how it is that you're supposed to feel, if you're supposed to feel at all. I can understand why she eventually just said, fuck it, I'm changing things.
That was just what Kiona's assuming. We don't know the real reason for Nagato's. Yeah, that's what Kion's assuming, and that's what I'm kind of assuming too, just based on the argument. But I also say that maybe she has some type of feelings for Kion too. She just calls it an error in her program, caused the abnormalities to happen or whatever, but it usually goes somewhere more deeper, you know.
Yeah.
That plot line.
Oh boy.
Alright, so I guess overall thoughts?
I really enjoyed this. I definitely recommend, regardless if you watch it sub or dubbed, to definitely sit through it at least once with the movie also, like, immediately afterward. Because if you watch it chronologically, like how we did for this viewing, you are probably not going to be satisfied with that final episode. I'm telling you that straight up. If I didn't watch the movie prior to actually recording this, I think I would have said we need to redo this whole recording, because otherwise I would not be satisfied with the final product.
And let me tell you, past Neko would have been pretty upset if we had done it that way, because then she probably would have started editing some of this and she'd be like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, and I would have felt so bad afterward too.
I still would have done it though. Allowed you to re-record your thoughts, because at that point, if you felt that passionate about it and you want the audience to know, then I would have allowed that. As much of a pain in the butt as it would have been.
Oh yeah.
Like, I had a feeling he was gonna like it. I just didn't think he'd like it as much as he is claiming. Like, I'm always surprised by every anime I usually recommend to him is usually good in his eyes. Like, I don't think I've recommended you a bad one yet.
I don't recall that if you have or not. But that's mostly because you have to also understand this full context. When it comes to anime, so especially when I first started watching it, I was unfortunately one of those high school boys who used to watch way too much harem. Back in the day, I used to watch High School DxD, To Love Ru, pretty much any token like harem anime you could possibly think of, I've probably sat through it at least once. So for me, going back and rewatching stuff that is honestly just really good, not just from a storytelling perspective or anything like that, just it's a damn good show in general. It makes me regret not going back and watching this like earlier, you know?
I'm gonna say something that may upset you. I hate harem anime. I will go into it another day because I think we've gotten a whole lot of discussion out right now.
Yep.
Um,
Because trust me, I don't blame you.
and as from someone who has watched this show multiple times, yeah, I'm probably gonna watch it again at some point. Not
Probably.
anytime very soon, but I do hope that they make more of the anime at some point. I know Kyoto Animation had some trouble a few years back.
Yeah.
Um,
I forget, what was it exactly?
it was a arson attack on
Oh,
there.
right. I forgot about that.
So I know that right now their productions are kind of slow. They're not really doing too much right now, but I do hope they return to Haruhi at some point.
It would be nice. In any case, next time it'll be my choice for what I have her sit her through, and I'm not entirely sure what I want to have her sit through just yet, but I have a couple ideas in mind, but I have to look into where exactly we're gonna actually watch some of this stuff. But you guys will have to wait and see.
Mhm.
So until next time, this is Noah,
And MIrrorcard Neko.
and catch you guys later, I guess.
Now, if you'll excuse us, we have a dance to go learn.
Yep. Wait, we do?